Hey folks, it is August 29th, 2025, and if you have, or whether you haven't, been paying attention, there's a lot of chatter about September 23rd, 24th being the Rapture date, and it's based on a number of things, mathematical calculations, just the number of years, the number of days between feast days, and there's a gentleman from South Africa by the name of Joshua Malakala, I think, who claims to have been personally visited by Jesus himself and also taken to heaven in the spirit, but physically visited by Jesus. And it was told to him that Jesus was coming to earth to rapture his bride, or I think he said his church, on September 23rd or 24th. And that date is Rosh Hashanah, or the Feast of Trumpets, God's feast day. And if you study the Bible, you know that the spring feasts were all fulfilled when Jesus came to earth in the flesh, was crucified, buried, raised, and ascended back to heaven. So all of those feast days were fulfilled by Jesus for the spring feasts. The fall feasts have not been fulfilled to our understanding, and the first of which is Feast of Trumpets, which occurs September 23rd, 24th. And I have always taught that that's the likely day that Jesus will come for his bride, for the believers. Some people would call it for the church, but I don't think there is the church. There are churches, according to the Bible. There are believers, and that's who he's coming for to rapture. Now, there's a lot of people in many different camps that give a different story, and they will say that no, the rapture will occur in the middle of the tribulation period, and there are a few words that they get hung up on. I'm not going to say that I know for a fact which it is, because both sides of the argument present good points that neither of the other side can answer, but they just, they make their points, but they don't answer the other points. So that's not what I'm here for. I would say that it is possible that September 23rd, 24th will be transitional, which will take us from the present church age into the first half of the tribulation period. And then the Bible describes a breakdown of two separate periods within the 7 years of tribulation, the second half of which is the Great Tribulation. So, and it does describe tribulation saints, that are people who believe that are on earth during this 7-year tribulation and Great Tribulation period. So we know that there are people that are believers during that time, but the argument can be made from Thessalonians when Paul is describing the mystery of the rapture, where we will not all sleep, and he describes a resurrection and some people taken up, actually believers being taken up to be with Christ in the air. And it's a separate event, it would seem, from the second coming, where Jesus comes down to the earth for his second coming and establishes his kingdom and dwells on earth after the Battle of Armageddon. He comes basically to vanquish evil. And but I've spent the last 2 weeks, I'd say, watching 40 to 60 hours a week worth of videos, and I watch them at high speed, and I don't blame you if you speed mine up, because I don't speak especially fast. And I have been trying very hard to make sense of it. Is it true? Is it factual? Are there ulterior motives? Is it the devil at work trying to deceive us? Because the Bible does describe great deceptions and a falling away before the rapture, or before the return of Christ. So, and some people even say that falling away is the catching away, the rapture itself, before the return of Christ. So there are a lot of arguments to be made on both sides, and I'm not definitive. And when you become definitive, then you close yourself off to understanding God's Word, and I'd say don't do that. But I do want to present this challenge. It's the September 23rd, 24th Rapture Challenge. And some of you, probably most of you, are going to be offended when I say this, but I must say, because so many, including Joshua from South Africa, have said, he said it's 1,000,000,000% going to happen during September 23rd, 24th. And other people have said that they have had confirmations from God that this is going to happen. Now, you know, when somebody says something so definitive, I won't dismiss it, because, you know, if they're willing to put their reputation and God's reputation on the line like that, I would say that's a serious thing. So, I present to you this challenge. Those of you who have said that they have received confirmation from God that this is going to happen, September 23rd, 24th, the rapture. If it does not, then I would challenge you to admit that you do not hear from God, but from another spirit. Next, I challenge you, since you made a public claim, then make a public apology and admission that you listen to other spirits than God. And if you are a religious leader, I challenge you, I implore you, as a matter of fact, under the authority of God's Word, I present it as an order that you must resign from being a spiritual leader. If you have said that you heard from God and then it doesn't happen. And I know you're saying, well, that's, you know, you're doubting that it's going to happen. That's not doubt. You know, you've got to observe both sides. And the reason I must say this is because many times throughout history, and you can look it up yourself, dozens of times throughout history, there have been claims and promises and guarantees of 1,000,000,000% that this is going to happen, and then it didn't. In 1533, the Anabaptists under Jan Mathis claimed that these were, you know, radical Protestant reformers claimed that Jesus was coming back, and he didn't. 1844, William Miller, he was a precursor to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, made the claim that Jesus was coming back, and he didn't. This was known later as the Great Disappointment. In 1856, Ellen G. White, prophetess, co-founder of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, said that Jesus was coming back on a certain day, and he didn't. There have been many times throughout history. I'll just name the most recent. In 1975, the Jehovah's Witnesses made claim that the millennial reign would begin in 1975, and it didn't. And they later went on to admit, well, you know, we misunderstood it. Some of their prior guarantees that something was going to happen, they either swept under the rug and acted like they never said it, but now in the day of, you know, exposure, now they'll say, yes, well, this happened, or the rapture happened, or that happened in secret, or it was a spiritual thing, not an actual physical thing. So I caution you to beware. 1988, you might remember the book. I was in Bible college at the time, 88 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Be in 1988. And of course, when it didn't happen, he pushed it back a year, and we joked about it in Bible college and said, okay, you're going to buy the new book, 89 Reasons? But of course, it didn't happen. He pushed it again to 1993, didn't happen. In 2000, Tim LaHaye, Jerry Jenkins, these are evangelicals, they authored The Left Behind, and premillennial dispensationalists they were, made claims in 2000 that the rapture would happen, and of course it didn't. Also, Jerry Falwell, Southern Baptist preacher, made a claim 2000 was it. 2001, Jack Van Impe, you may be familiar with him. He's on television. You know, he made claims, didn't happen. Pat Robertson made claims in 2007, also a famous megachurch preacher. 2011, you'll remember the name Harold Camping. He made a claim that Jesus was coming back. I spoke with his staff, and they said, if you don't believe this, you're doomed and you're going to hell. And I said, well, that's kind of bold for you to say. I don't believe it because, I didn't believe it. And of course, it didn't happen. He changed the date and so on. 2012, the Mayan calendar said that the universe was ending, or at least that's how people interpreted it, and of course it didn't. 2014 and 15, John Hagee, you remember his blood moon prophecy with the 4 blood moons? He said that it was something significant was happening, and of course it came and went. Now, did something significant happen that we didn't know? I can't say, because I don't know. So many others. An independent evangelical in 2015, Chris McCann, made prophecies. He was an offshoot to Harold Camping. He made some predictions. Didn't happen. 2017, you probably saw it all over YouTube. There was the Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 through 4 prophecy. Or it wasn't really a prophecy. It was just they made the claim that it was fulfilled because of stellar alignments. And, it was pretty compelling. As a matter of fact, I was kind of on the bandwagon with that. I was telling people that it was likely the rapture. Now, was it a fulfillment of Revelation chapter 12? Possibly. Entirely possibly. But it wasn't the rapture. There have been so many others. 2025, this fella Joshua claims that he met with Jesus in person. Joshua, it's Mhlakela, Malakala. Made this claim that he met Jesus in person, was told that September 23rd, 24th was the rapture, 1,000,000,000% guaranteed. And so many others have now gotten on board and said, I received confirmation because I saw the number on a building or on a train, or it was on a license plate, or somebody called me and said those numbers, or my alarm went off, and by the time I looked at my phone or my alarm clock, it was 9:23, and so many are making these claims, and I'm sorry, I can't get on board with that. But do I think it's going to be on the feast days? Yes. But here's the issue I have with this one, and I'm going to reiterate my challenge. The issue I have is everybody's saying, well, the math. But if you add the math from September 23rd, 2,550 days later is supposed to be the return of Christ, the end, basically, the second coming. But 2,550 days later is one day before the next feast that's to be fulfilled. So, I guess technically the math doesn't add up for 2,550 days. And now and that would be if it's the 23rd. If it's the 24th, it's even further away. It's 2 days away from lining up. So, I don't know. It's they're saying that the second coming is the 15th of September, 2032. 7 years later, not at 7 years exact, but 2,551 or 2,552 days later. And the Bible talks about 2,550. Now, that's, maybe you're going to say, well, that's nitpicky. And, maybe it is. But, don't stand on that platform and say it's the math when the math is not really precise. It's a day off. So, I would encourage you to look into it yourself. You can seek God. I prayed and asked God for a sign, either for the positive that it's going to happen or to the negative that it's not going to happen, and I received no sign whatsoever. And now maybe that just means God doesn't want to tell me anything. Maybe I'm not worthy to hear. I don't know. I prayed and did my best to get right with God, but I didn't hear. And I faced the camera out because the answer could have come on this trip, and it did not. So, the challenge, once again, if it doesn't happen, admit that it's not God you've heard from. And that goes to you, Joshua. If it doesn't happen, you must admit that you hear from spirits, but not from God. They're from the other team. And then publicly make your apology and try to offer an explanation. Don't change the date and say, well, God delayed. God's not going to delay his coming. It's already set. It's set. We're not going to change it by praying it or by doing anything. It's set. And if you look at the 6,000 years, 6 days of creation, 1 year of rest, millennial reign, hey, makes sense to me. Sounds right. Whether we're exactly 6,000 years from the day of creation, I don't know. That's the thing. There is no way to know this for a fact. But I know this: we're close. So I would encourage you to do that. And if you're in public ministry and you're saying that God told you this or that and it doesn't happen, it's time to quit and to resign and go home. Thanks for watching.